you expose the mind to inhumane levels of abuse, the brain begins to function in areas that it's not supposed to function in. So if you think about obesity, I believe that obesity is a triggered reaction from the mind and the brain. It's a direct correlation to the mind, the brain, and the thyroid. It's all interconnected. So if the mind is saying, I need to eat, the brain moves the legs, the hands, the body. It's automatic response. And so the body to go and find food. I wonder if those thoughts are repetitiously placed there to carry out an agenda. And I don't know what that agenda may be. The agenda may come from the guardian. Remember, the authoritative figure. Are you hungry? It's the hand to mouth thing. They're constantly pushing food in your mouth, forcing you to eat this. Do you want that? Do you want this? They're repetitiously introducing you to a system. The system is built through repetition. Habits form systems, and systems are formed through repetitious acts. That means that the system that we are currently operating on is built through repetitious actions and behaviors. Those repetitious acts create the physical attributes that we are attracted to without diminishing them. You may have been attracted to one thing in your youth, but as you age, you become attracted to something else. That's through repetitious introduction. It's constantly introduced to your mind to the point where it becomes a normal way of thinking. It's the hand and mouth. It's constantly introduced to you. The drugs, the war on drugs, it's constantly in front of you, or your mind is delivering these messages that you want to do drugs. I often wonder if these messages were artificially planted in your mind. And that artificial planting can come from many different ways. It can come from exposure to those same environments where you're constantly seeing it. It goes back to repetitious. If everyone around you is doing drugs, and that's what you're repetitiously seeing, it starts to begin and form your mind. That energy, it's the energy. So if you see typical mental institutions, times when one person will have an outburst, it triggers an emotional response in many of the other individuals that's around them. It's the energy. It also triggers that emotional response in the brain. A lot of these people who are in mental institutions, they have been exposed to trauma. So it's the PTSD, where you have mental institutions and you have that PTSD. And when those trauma responses are triggered, it delivers in reaction that range on multiple different levels. If you think about it, that's also a form of a social experiment, because if everything is energy and we are energetic beings, our body is made up of many different areas that receive and release energy. Exposure to these environments, especially for a person who has post-traumatic stress disorder. See, when I think about mental health issues, how it's directly connected to the social environment that they're existing in. Because if you're attacking the mind, that will hinder the individual from living. They will begin existing. So have children who are bullies or who become bullied. But these bullies are created. They are created through formal and informal social control. It falls under the area of controlling the mind, the psychopaths, the sociopaths, the psychoanalysis, the psychoactive, the psychosis. All of these things, they go together. The psychoanalysis is the observation, right? The psychotherapy That can be cognitive behavioral therapy, which are tools that is utilized to create coping mechanisms. But the psychotherapy is also these experiments. It's the mind control. Psychosis is a direct reaction from the areas that the mind was exposed to the high levels of abuse. You have sociopath and psychopath, and then you have the empath. Everyone's reaction and response is not going to be the same, just as well as everyone's journey towards healing isn't going to be the same. Everyone's grieving process isn't the same. Everyone's reaction to trauma isn't the same. So when you think about the cloning process and how the mind is cloned, now you hear these different conspiracy theories that say that many human beings are cloned. But how about the mind has been cloned since the beginning of time because of the onset, because of similarities in different community environments. So if you look at the makeup or the design that makes up certain different areas, their minds have been cloned since the beginning of time. Some people say that these actions were handed down from generation to generation, but these actions tend to dominate certain areas, right? Certain intercity, the definition for intercity is in between a city. So they tend to dominate the intercity. The in between the city is the mind. That's in between the brain and the body. That's the intercity. So these similarities of the cloning of the mind have been going on since the beginning of time through these social experiments. Informal and formal social control. They're constructed to dominate the intercity, the mind. So if you look at the inner city community, which some refer to as the ghetto, that means that their mind has been under attack for a very long time. It has been imprisoned because it's the inner city. Your city would be your entire vessel. So that would be your body, your mind, your brain, your body, and your mind. So if the brain controls the mind and the body, you attack the mind, therefore control the body. Words are powerful because there's always an underlying. It's the iceberg theory. So the underlying is compared to the iceberg theory. Tip of the iceberg would be the word, right? And the underlying, which is under the surface, it's the many definitions of the word. It actually goes deeper than knowing your audience, because you can know your audience but not know how they will receive the word. See, our mindset shifts. It varies moment to moment. To sort of be Houdini and know how this word will be received from the audience that you are delivering it to. Individuals' mind can only process things not only based upon their education level, but based upon the area that they are in. Mindsets. It's the mindset. What stage have you set your mind in? It's all control. So the main thing is to control your own mind, because it's going to be controlled whether you're controlling it or whether someone else controls it, right? So these words underlying, they tend to lie to us. Under the iceberg is a ton of emotions, and at the tip of the iceberg is the word. If you look at the iceberg theory, The iceberg theory is a theory that states that the reaction is the tip of the iceberg, but under the reaction is a whole series of different emotions. And typically those emotions, they trigger a response, which is at the tip of the iceberg. It sets your mind to operate at a pace that is controlled based upon the information that you are exposed to. See, social control also controls information, the delivery of it, how it's received, how it's delivered, and the type of information that is delivered. But the information that you consume, now that's your diet, the information that you're consuming, it determines your mindset. See, these words, they are created. But if you look under the surface of these words, they're basically parables. There's a whole nother meaning to the word when you realize that words are parables. And how they're used, it stimulates the mind while delivering a different understanding. It will be awesome to hear your thoughts on these topics. If this video has helped you gain insight, thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content.